Today's daf is Masechta Kiddushin Daf Samach. We will begin on daf Nun Tes Amud Beis, about 7 lines from the top. Rav Zvid. We were discussing a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish regarding if a man gave a woman Kiddushin money and said, "Don't be Pekudeshes to me until after 30 days," and she agreed to that. So Rabbi Yochanan said simply, if she decides to change her mind prior to the 30 days, she's permitted to do so. Rish Lakish said, no, she can't. And in the first version of the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish is, the reason Rish Lakish said she can't is because she accepted Kedusha money. And that's considered as if she did an action. And if once you do an action, you can't use a verbal statement to undo an action that you did. And this is considered a mini action. But Rabbi Yochanan viewed it as an action, as a verbal commitment. It's not an action just because she accepted the money. And therefore, another verbal statement can undo the previous verbal statement. So her statement earlier that said, "I'm committing to get married to you after 30 days," can be undone according to Rabbi Yochanan. If another verbal statement says she changes her mind. It comes in the first version of what we learned. It seems that Rish Lakish would agree that if it was verbal versus verbal, anytime you have a verbal statement that you said something, you can say another verbal statement to undo the previous verbal statement. Rish Lakish would agree to that. Rav Zvid has Rish Lakish, on this version of Rish Lakish, has it a much stricter view. Rav Zvid masna lahosh maitza aha. Rav Zvid learned that the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish is on the following brisa. The brisa says like this: he, a girl, a lady, she gave permission to a shliach to be mekadesh her. And she hired a shliach to accept kedushin. She went on her own and accepted kedushin. If she received her kedushin prior to the shliach kedushin, what she did is a good kedushin. But if the shliach did something first, then the kedushin is not considered a good kedushin. But what happens is the shliach did not know that she was mekadesh herself, and before she did anything, his shlichus accepted a kedushin from somebody, ain't kedusha kedushin. Then what she did is not valid. Obviously, she's engaged to the person that the shliach accepted the money from. Loy kitchasat, she didn't mekadesh herself. The chazor, and then now she wants to retract from making the shliach, and she doesn't want to tell the shliach. Obviously, she could tell the shliach, "I don't want you to be my shliach anymore." But even if she didn't say to the shliach in front of him that "you're no more my shliach," Mahu, what's the din? It's good because he hired her verbally. She hired him verbally, or the shliach verbally. Now she can undo that shlichus verbally. But Rish Lakish says, she cannot retract because loy also dibur umavatal dibur. Once you committed to hire a shliach, this cannot be undone unless you tell the shliach directly. By just verbally saying, "I don't want a shliach," it doesn't work. And the Gemara says that outright. One statement can undo another statement. She can't retract. Her words cannot nullify dibur, the original words of hiring the shliach. Said to Rish Lakish, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says over there, that if a person is mevatel a shliach prior to the shliach taking off truma on your behalf, then the bittul works. You can mevatel a shliach, and if the shliach did something, his truma is not valid because you mevatel him first. So we have here a case where a person could be mevatel a shliach even without the shliach knowing about it. So this is a question Rabbi Yochanan asked against Rish Lakish. So we see also dibur mevatel dibur. Rav explained, since the Balabayas went ahead and did the truma first on his own truma, he took off truma, so he did an action to show that he doesn't want the shliach. So then, therefore, that action could undo the verbal the verbal statement of hiring a shliach. So since according to Shlokish, he actually did an action, every action can undo a verbal commitment. Shlokish asked Rabbi Yochanan, you say also dibur mavatal dibur. We learned any keli, in order for it to be kabel tumah, you have to decide that you finished working on the keli, and now it becomes susceptible to tumah. So if you decide, let's say that this furniture is going to be a bench, and I'm not making it into a bed, so therefore it now becomes susceptible to tumah, and you can't undo that verbal commitment that you want it to be a bed, that you want it to be a bench, unless you actually start working on it and start smoothing it down to make it into a bed. An action to undo another action or another thought. But just a thought. Here's this situation where the Brisa says, the Mishnah says, that if you think about, let's say, making it into a bench, and then you think about, you say, you know what, I want to turn it into a bed. You in your mind made it into a bench. So therefore, by you in your mind making it into a bench, you can't undo that by just thinking, I want to turn it into a bed. Now, the only way to undo the original thought is actually start working on something. So the Gemara explains, a thought, we'll consider a thought like a word. So if an action, we understand a thought cannot undo an action because a dibar, a thought, a verbal thought, or cannot undo an action that you did. Why can't one thought undo another thought? You hold also dibar mevatel dibar, so one thought, which is considered like a dibar, should be able to mevatel another dibar. Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan answered, you're right. Shana machshava to tuma is a different type of thought. That when you think about something, to make it susceptible to tumah, the Torah considers it as if you did an action. So as if you did an action. Papa asked the contradiction. It says ki yitain. V'karinim ki yutan. Hoketzat ki yutan dumedi yitain. Ma yitain denichle af yutan nami denichle. Torah tells us that in order for a fruit to become, let's say, susceptible to tumah, water has to fall in it. So the Torah says, if you place water on that fruit, it becomes susceptible to tumah. And also the Torah considers it, we read it, kiyutan, that even if water falls on it on the fruit by itself, let's say an apple, it falls on it by itself, and you're okay with that, so then it automatically becomes susceptible to tumah. And the fact that this Torah considers that as if you actually put the water on the fruit, so the Torah considers your thoughts as if it's an action. And because of that, any thought making something susceptible to tumah is considered like an action. So that can only be undone by another action, not by another thought. Asay Rish Lakish, Rish Lakish. Yochanan asked a question against Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish holds, Loi also diber, mubatel diber. One statement cannot undo another statement. Well, the Brisa says, guy made a shliach to give a get to his wife. And then he says, I want to undo the shlichus, right? So then it's the shliach is undone. So we see that there's also dibar, mavatal dibar. You first originally made him a shliach, and now you're deciding to change your mind and not to make him a shliach. So we see also dibar mavatal dibar. Tiyufta Rish Lakish. This is a refutation against Rish Lakish. Tiyufta, there is a refutation that we always hold also dibar mavatal dibar. But the Gemara says we also say that in the first case by Kiddushin, where we thought that by the woman committing herself to get married after 30 days and accepting Kiddushin money, Rish Lakish said in that first version that loy osu dibur umavatal, this quasi maisa of accepting money. So the Gemara says that Rish Lakish says that would have worked, but we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan, even fila b'kamaisa, even the first version. Maybe you can say giving money to the isha, the fact that the potential husband gave money to the woman is considered like a maisa because as if he did an action. He gave her the money. And now she verbally committed, as she actually verbally committed to marry him. So she did an action. So I would think that lo yasa diba mabatal maisa, that kind of a maisa. We consider it as a dibur, and a dibur can undo another dibur. Says the Gemara Kasha Hilchasa. Amrit, you tell me Hilchas to Rabbi Yochanan. The time alone Hilchas to Rabbi Nachman. You tell me the halachas Rabbi Yochanan that also dibur mabatal dibur. And we also paskin like Rav Nachman, who seems to imply that loy also dibur mabatal dibur. The ibaylu, a man was mabatal. There was a question. The question is, the man was mabatal the shliach, and the Gemara is thinking he was mabatal the get too. Mao shiach yagarish boy. Can he reuse that get? Rav Nachman says he can reuse the get. Why? Because the get doesn't become batal. You wrote up a get. You want to mabatal that get, mabatal dibur. You can't use that get anymore. The get is puzzle. So we see Reb Sheshes holds also dibur mabatal dibur. But if you paskin like Rab Nachman, and Rab Nachman says you could still use that get because the dibur he was mabatal that get, and nevertheless we ignore his bittul. Because loy also dibur mavatal dibur, so that's why you can reuse that get. His words are meaningless once he committed to write the get and wrote the get. So b'kaim alone we paskin hilchos gavasi Rabbi Nachman. We always paskin like Rabbi Nachman. So how do you square off the halacha like Rabbi Yochanan and the halacha is like Rabbi Nachman? So the answer is need the batla matar shliach matar ges like batla. But Nachman is talking about whether the guy was mavatal by this case when he says get shel shalachti shemsatchel batali. He didn't mean to mavatal the get. He meant to say that you are no more a shliach, but the get should be okay, and that's what he meant. So the shliach he was mavatal. He nullified the shliach, but the get he was not mavatal, and therefore Nachman held you could reuse the get. So bottom line is we always say asu dibur mabatal dibur, but you don't say asu dibur umabatal maisa. We learned in the Mishnah mekudeshes l'seini. The Mishnah said that if a man said to a woman, "Here's your kedushin money and be mekudeshes to me after 30 days," right? And somebody else gave her kedushin in between the 30 days, prior to the 30 days. So the Mishnah says she's mekudeshes to the second person, a real kedushin d'oraisa, because the first kedushin, the first man kedushin only takes effect after 30 days. Amarav, Rav says mekudeshes l'sheni la'olam, she forever remains married to the second person. Ushmul amal mishukudeshes l'seni ad lamed yoyim, she's mekudeshes to the second person after 30 days. La'achal lamed yoyim pakir kedusha sheni v'gamru kedusha rishon. Wow. Rav Shmuel says that after the 30 days are up, the second kedushin goes off, and the first kedushin comes back. So that is such a strange statement of Shmuel, like it just disappears. The second kedushin, second man's kedushin, how did the second kedushin go off? He committed to have this kedushin, and now you're telling me it's off. Where did it go? Amalei Rav Yosef, Ma Areshim Asle V'Kashlei Rav Yehuda. You learned the Machlekes Rav and Shmuel is on the second case of the Mishnah. But Rav Yehuda, Aseifa Masal Rav Yehuda explained the Machlekes Rav and Shmuel on the second case of the Mishnah. And the man said, Ma'achshav ula'achshav yoyim lekachale. The man said, Ma'achshav, he says to a woman, here's your kedushin and your mekudeshes to me from right now and after 30 days. Now, what is he saying? He's saying right and left. What he's saying, I want you to be Mekudeshes to me now, and I want you to be Mekudeshes to me after 30 days. So Amar Rav explained, Mekudeshes mean Mekudeshes lo'ilam. In other words, Mekudeshes. She's Mekudeshes to the first person. Ve'einu Mekudeshes lo'ilam, and she's not Mekudeshes to the second, forever. She's not Mekudeshes forever. So, as Rashi explains, as the Gemara is explaining, Ushmul Ama Mukudeshes, Vein Mukudeshes, Ela Avli Yom Yoyim. And she's only in limbo for 30 days. La'achal Lamed Yoyim, after 30 days, Pakar Kedushin Sheni, the Gomer Kedushin Rishon. According to Shmuel, the second Kedushin is no more a suffix Kedushin. And the first Kedushin is the one and only valid Kedushin. So the Gemara explains what's going on over here. A man again said, "La'achshav v'la'acha shleishim yom." I want the Kedushin to be from now and after 30 days. So Rav says she's in a limbo. She's Mekudeshes and not Mekudeshes to both of them. Rav Masafkale. Rav had a doubt. What did the guy mean? Itanoi is a condition. He says, the first guy said, Ma'achshav, you Mekudesh me from now, if I don't change my mind for 30 days. When he doesn't change his mind for 30 days, it turns out retroactively he was Mekudeshes. So she will be Mekudeshes. It was a condition that was met, and after 30 days, she's retroactively Mekudeshes to the first person. Or, what he meant, possibly he meant is, I want you to be Kedushes to me right now. And then, right away, he said, no, I mean after 30 days. So when does he effectively want the Kedushin? It's for after 30 days. So we don't know. The first guy, did he mean he wants the Kedushin to start from right now? Or did he mean that the Kedushin should start after 30 days? Is it a condition? Or is it a retraction? So therefore, she's Mekudeshes misafik to the first guy. And therefore, if somebody else gives her a Kedushin within the 30 days, she's in a suffix Kedushin to the second guy as well. But that's Rav's opinion. Shmuel pshitale the Tanoi have. Shmuel says, no, the guy made a condition. And he says, Ma'achshiv Shemudeshes to me right now, if I still want to stay with this Kedushin after 30 days, and after 30 days he didn't want to undo it, therefore he's Mekudeshes retroactively to the first guy, and therefore the second guy giving her Kedushin was basically giving Kedushin to a married woman. Says the Gemara, "Uplukta dahani tanoi." The machlokes between Rav and Shmuel, whether if a man says two conflicting statements, are we not sure of what he meant, or is it a for sure a condition? The Tanya we learned in the Brisa, "Mahayoim lachamisa." Person says to his wife, "Here's you get. It should be today, and it should take effect after I die." What did he mean? Get ve'ena get. Divrei Chachamim. The Chachamim says it's a get and it's not a get, because possibly he meant to say that the get is from today, when I die, which will retroactively start from today. Or did he mean to say, no, I'm changing my mind. I want the get to take effect after I die. He thinks a divorce can take effect after he dies. Well, we know a divorce does not take effect after he dies. So does this woman have a get or not have a get? Does she fall to Yibam or not fall to Yibam when he dies? The Chachamim says he's in limbo, like Rav. Rabbi Yomi Kazeh get. Rebbe held that it is a get. For sure it's a retraction. And basically, he's saying, Mahayim, I want to get to happen today. Ula achar misa, and I want it to happen after I die. Well, it can't happen after he dies. So en get lachar misa. So therefore, it's a get. It's considered a get, and maybe he wants it to happen right before he dies. Says the Gemara. That's simply that Rav is agreeing to the Rabbanan, and Shmuel is the halacha is like Rabbi. So Rav, who said when a person says two contradicting statements, we don't know what he meant. Did he mean was he retracting? Was he retracting, or was it conditional? If it was retracting, then we take the later date. If it was conditional, then if the later date is met, then the effect should start from the original first statement that he said. So the question is, the name of Rav, why didn't Rav say a halacha k'Rabbanan? The halacha is like Rabbanan, because that's what the Rabbanan said, get ve'ena get. The name of Shmuel halacha Rebbe, let Shmuel say that halacha is like Rebbe. What did Rebbe say? Kizeh get, because it's a conditional statement. He said, when I die, retroactively, the get should be from today. We know definitively when he wants the get to take effect, Mahayom. So why didn't Shmuel say simply the halacha is like Rebbe? Why did they have their own argument when it's machlokes tanoim? So the Gemara answers, Sricha, I need it. If Rav would have just said halacha rabbanon, that halacha is like the rabbanon. I would have thought hasam. When a person is trying to distance himself from his wife, therefore we're not sure what he meant. Is it a conditional statement or is it a retraction? But by kedushin, he's trying to marry his wife. So maybe he wants it to take effect as soon as possible. And what he added, the second date of Achash Leishbiyim, is for a condition that when I don't change my mind after 30 days, it should take effect from now. So that's what maybe he would agree to Shmuel by Kedushin that it's conditional statement. The Tanoi Hava. So then the Gemara teaches us the Rav was definitive. We still never sure what he meant. Either it's a conditional statement or a retraction. The Yom Shmuel, Shmuel would have said for sure halacha karebi by getting havemina hasam hu de'en get lachamisa. Over there, it cannot be that he meant that it should be a retraction, because who knows? Everybody knows you can't make a get after you die, and therefore he's not going to say a statement that makes no sense. So for sure, by Gittin, it was a conditional retroactive statement that should take effect right from today. Aval hacha, but over here by Kiddushin, there's Kiddushin possible after 30 days, and therefore maybe he agreed to Rav that perhaps the person meant as a retraction. He said, look, I'm changing my mind. I don't want the Kiddushin to take effect now. I want it to take effect after 30 days. Maybe he would agree to Rav. That's possibly what it meant. Tzricha, that's why Shmuel said definitively he meant that the Kiddushin should take effect right now. So again, we have machloikis between Rav and Shmuel. A man says, so according to Shmuel, he definitively means that it's from now, and after 30 days, if he doesn't change his mind, the effect of the Kiddushin is from right now. Rav is on the fences. Perhaps he meant that Kiddushin should take effect from right now, or perhaps he meant that Kiddushin should take effect after 30 days, and we don't know. Amar Abaye, so Abaye said, Utamid Rav, according to the reasoning of Rav, one said, you're Mekudeshes to me, Achshav, and after 30 days. Right now and 20 days. Same thing. And the third guy says, so each one uses the expression achshav. The first guy said achshav and after 30 days. The second guy said achshav after 20 days. And the third guy said achshav after 10 days. So we don't know, but what Rabbi is saying is it's not that each one meant something different. Either all of them meant a condition, and therefore the effect of the after 30 days, really she's mukudeshes to the first guy because he's the first one that said anything, or they all are a retraction, and therefore the one that the retraction is the first guy says, I want you to be mukudeshes to me after 30 days. And the second guy said after 20 days. And the third guy said after 10 days. So after 10 days, she's really Mekudeshes to the third guy. So we don't know if she's Mekudeshes to the first or the third guy. So therefore, Marisha Ma'achar and Srichiget, I'm sorry, ain't Srichiget. The first and third guy you need to get, and not from the middle guy. If it was conditional, then the first one is conditioned. The Hanach Lav Kedushin, the rest are not. If Ma'achshav and another if it's a retraction, the Basra Kedushin, then the last one takes effect because he said my Kedushin should take place after 10 days. And therefore, the Hanach Lav Kedushin, the rest are not Kedushin. So the Gemara says Pshita, what Abaye just said is simple. It's just a puzzle according to Rav, but it's a very simple solution. So the Gemara says, I would have thought, I might think some people, when they use some people use it as a retraction, and some people use it as a conditional. So once you don't know each one, then you're going to need a get from each and every one, because perhaps the middle one took effect because maybe everybody else meant it as a retraction, but the middle one meant it as conditional, so it should start right away. So therefore, you're going to need to get from each one. No, the definitive is what everybody uses. Everybody uses it as a Tanai, or does everybody use it as a retraction? Rabbi Yochanan says the name of Rabbi Yochanan, a very interesting thing. When a person says, he is saying a statement like this, not a conditional, it's not a retraction, but basically he's saying, I want 1/30 of my Kedushin on day one, the second 30th of Kedushin to take effect on day 30, until we reach 100%. So basically, a little percentage of Kedushin is every single day. So he's not fully Mekadosh her. So therefore, if anybody So he's like Mekadesh, like part of a woman. And therefore, 100 people could come and give her Kedushin because there's ways to, he didn't Mekadesh the full woman. Even 100 people could make a Kedushin right after her. I'll explain you how to visualize Rabbi Yochanan. When you make bricks and you're piling bricks on top of each other, so you pile a half a brick on part of a brick underneath, and you're leaving space for another brick to come and take the other half of that brick. So you pile a brick over here on top, and then you pile another brick to further make another to continue on to the next brick and part of the brick next to that. So basically, each part gave space for the other one. A guy says, again, I'm giving you a get from today and after I die. Get, vein, a get. We're not sure if it's a get or not a get. Vimes, if the guy did die, and she gets chalitza, not yibam. Perhaps she had a get, and therefore she doesn't fall to yibam. Or perhaps it's not a get, and it's not a get, and she will fall to yibam. So in order to do away with any problems, we tell her to get a chalitza, not yibam. The Gemara says, Bishlam Rav, this brisa makes sense. Messiah, this is a proof. We don't know. Get, vein a get. The Shmuel Nami, according to Shmuel, this brisa is not a question against Shmuel because Shmuel says it's definitively a get. Almani Rabbanani, Banan Dame Rebbe. I hold like Rebbe. This brisa goes according to Rabbi Yochanan. Ella Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan Shiri, whoever Rabbi Yochanan says when someone says Mayoim Lacha Misa, he's saying, I want 1% of my get to start today, and then it should go up until the moment I die. He's saying that all my get should take effect each day, a little part of the get. And when I die, he's basically saying that's when it hits 100%. Well, you made a get after a yibum, if that's what he meant. So certainly after you made a get after he dies, so therefore it reaches 100% after he dies. So therefore she should be allowed to do yibum. And why should we require her to do chalitza? The Rav explained get lehoitzi misa lehoitzi. Mashishia get kamratu misa. Could be that he meant to say is get removes her and misa takes her out from the marriage. Mashishia get kamratu misa. If there's leftover of the get, then the misa will complete it. But since there's nothing left over by the get, but right before he died, the get reached 100%. So therefore, it actually was a good get. So the Gemara is going to ask a few questions on that, right? So the Gemara is going to ask like this. So the Gemara says, how can you compare? Get removes her from the yavam, and the misa brings her into the yavam. So if Brisa brings her into here, they're doing two different effects. So how could he say that he meant to say is if there's a leftover the get, that the Misa should take over, just they're doing opposite things. So you can't say that's what he meant to say, that the Misa should do whatever the get did not do. The Misa is doing one thing and the get is doing something else. So you must interpret it is that the Misa should be able to finish off the Misa actually would be the 100% of the get should take effect after he died. That's probably what he meant, and therefore the ain't get lacha Misa she should be allowed to have yibam. Elam Abaya says like this. Really, you're right. It's no get. Awesome time of mine. So then, why should she do the yibam? The gezerah mishim hayom imati. If the person, if we allow this person when it says mayoim lacha Misa to get a yibam, people will say that if a person says mayoim imati, which means it's a for sure get because he said the get should take effect today if I die. So he said the word in, so it made it really an effective get, which is harez a get. So therefore, we don't allow hayoim lacha Misa to do yibam. They should do chalitza. So then the Gemara asks, "Nizma yom mati the tachlis otim yom lacha Misa." So why do we say that a yom mati the guy goes the way he would go scot free? Why don't we require that if a man gives his wife a get and says Mahayoim imati, that she should, and he dies, she should get only chalitza. She should require her to have a chalitza before she marries somebody else. Because if you're going to say she goes scot-free, then Hayoim Malachamisa, people are going to say they go scot-free because they sound alike. So the Gemara says you can't say Mayom Mati gets chalitza. Mata Yom Chaletzes Misiabemis. If you can say she's going to get chalitza, people are going to say Mayom Mati should get yibam, and there it's a real get, so she can't get yibam. So the Gemara says Hachinami by saying Mayom Lachamisa im Atoim Chaletzes. If you're going to require chalitza Misiabemis, she should get yibam. So the Gemara says it's obvious. Tisyabed. What would happen in the worst case scenario if she got yibam? It's only a chashash d'Rabbanan. Why? Because really there is no get over here, and really midaraisa she's supposed to get yibam. We're doing a chashash d'Rabbanan, saying that according to Rabbi Yochanan she should get chalitza. So therefore, if in the worst case scenario something happens and people are going to say, "Oh, she's getting chalitza," you could do yibam. If they do yibam by hayom malachamisa, then there's nothing wrong with it because it was no get according to Rabbi Yochanan. But Mayom Mati, we let her go free because in that case, if you require her a chalitza, people are going to say, "Oh, she get chalitza. Let's take it one step further. Let's give her a yibam also." But there, it's a real get because when you said Hayoim im Mati, you're saying the get should be from today if I die. So for sure, it's a conditional. There, she doesn't fall to yibam at all, and then the person is going to be marrying his brother's wife. New Mishnah. I'm Elisha. A person says there's a woman. He says on condition I give you 200 zuz. She's mukadeshes to him, but he has to give the 200 zuz. He has to follow through on the condition. If he says on condition that I will give you from now till 30 days 200 zuz, and only then you'll become mukadeshes to me. If he gave you the 200 zuz within the 30 days, mukadeshes, because he kept his condition. Then lav ain't mukadeshes. But if he did not keep his condition of giving her 200 zuz, he's not mukadeshes. A man says to a woman, I'm marrying you on condition that you believe me that I own 200 zuz. Shows her bank account that he has 200 zuz in the bank. She's become mukadeshes. The yeshlik that he has to have it. On the condition I show you 200 zuz, I raise mukadeshes. He has to show her that he has 200 zuz. We have to understand that. Is it his money or is he showing her somebody else's money? But she shows the banker's money. Ain't mukadeshes is not mukadeshes. So we'll try to discuss that in the Mishnah. With first case of the Mishnah, a man says to a woman, "Harayat mukadeshes li." So he said a condition that I promise you I'm going to give you 200 zuz. So the Mishnah says he has to give her 200 zuz. Itma, Rafuna Amavu Yitin. He has to give her. But when is she mukudeshes? Right now. It's just a side condition that has to be met. But retroactively, the kedushin is chal from the day he gave her the original pruta. When he actually gives the money. Until then, there is no kedushin. It's a conditional. Whenever he wants to keep the condition, he can keep the condition, and therefore, once he keeps the condition, automatically the kedushin was retroactively effective from the time he made the statement and gave her a pruta. Who says when he actually comes up with the money, the chiyav have a kedushin. Hashtem biyalei have a kedushin. Right now, it's not a kedushin. He didn't give the money yet. Until he gives the money, there's no kedushin over here. My benay, what's the difference? Well, it's obvious what the difference is. If she accept the kedushin from somebody else prior to him showing up with the 200 zuz, Ravuna have a kedushin. Ravuna, it's not a kedushin. If he actually gave her 200 zuz, so retroactively she's mukadeshes. So there was a kedushin prior to her accepting kedushin from somebody else. Rabbi Yehuda have a kedusha. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a good kedushin because she's not mukudesha. She's a pnuya. She's an unmarried woman until she receives the 200 zuz. So if she accepted kedushin in between, prior to receiving the 200 zuz, she is mukudeshes. So this is the machloikis that we have by kedushin. Says the Gemara, Tananami Gavi Gittin, the same thing. The same machloikis happened by Gittin. Kahai Gavin, a similar machloikis between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. The Mishnah says, a man says a woman, And here, instead of he giving her 200 zuz, I'm giving you the get. Until you give me 200 zuz, this is your conditional get. She's mukareshus, but she has to follow through to give him 200 zuz. When she has to keep the condition of giving him 200 zuz, but the get starts from the day she received the actual paper. It's just a conditional. All she has to do is keep the condition and go on with life. Rabbi Yehuda says, when he finally gives, that's when the kedushin takes effect. The gittin takes effect. When he gives it to her, to him, then it becomes a get. Right now, it's not a good get. And again, my benayu, what would be the difference between the two, between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda? It's obvious. Did the get take effect from the time he gave it to her, or did the get take effect when she met the condition by giving him the 200 zuz? It got lost. It got ripped or lost. Rav Huna have a get. It was a get already. Rav Huna loy have a get. You have to rewrite the get if it got lost or ripped up in between. We need this machlokes by two scenarios. The Yashmin and Guy Kedushin, if it would only tell me this idea by Kedushin that Rav Huna said that the Kedushin starts from night now. On this place, Rav Huna says, Rishum del Kruvik that he's coming closer. So therefore, he wants the Kedushin to start right now. He's trying to distance himself from her. Maybe he agrees to Rabbi Yehuda that the get really only takes effect later because nobody wants to leave his wife. He wants to push it off the actual divorce. Which is say by Gittin, I would say the opposite. Rav Huna said that he wants it to take effect right away by Gittin, because he's not ashamed if she doesn't give it right away. So he'll try to collect it. He's no embarrassment from trying to collect it from her. So the get takes effect right now. If she didn't keep the condition, he'll keep coming after her and saying, "Look, you owe me the money." So eventually, she's going to keep the condition by giving him the 200 zuz. By the case of the kedushin, the ihu with who's trying to collect the money. She's trying to collect the money. He said, "I'm going to give you 200 zuz." The ihu ksifalei l'mitvei. She's more ashamed to request the money. So therefore, maybe Rav Huna would agree, that maybe he would agree to Rabbi Yehuda that the get does not take effect until after she receives the get. Until after she receives the money, the kedushin does not take effect because she's ashamed to ask him for the money. Therefore, we want to make sure the condition is met before she agreed that the kedushin should start. So therefore, tzricha. But that's why we need in both cases to teach you that Rav Huna said his opinion that when a person gives a get with a condition that she has to give him 200 zuz, or he gives a kedushin to a woman with the condition that he's going to give her 200 zuz, in both cases, the kedushin and the get start from the day he gave the kedushin or the get. It's only after when she meets or he meets the condition that retroactively the condition has been met, but the effective date is from the time that he wrote on the get or the time that he gave her the kedushin. So the Gemara now asks a question. Meisvei, that we learned in the Brayso, here's you get. On the condition you give me 200 zuz, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this should take effect only after the 200 zuz was given. And the Mishnah Brayso says, even though the get was ripped up or lost, it's mugareshes. She should not get married until she actually keeps the condition. But we see that the get is taking retroactive effect from the time he gave it, because even though it was ripped up and lost, if she ends up giving him 200 zuz, she's considered mugrashis. This is not like Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. We learned in the Brayso, he says to her, and then he died, and she did not. So the Mishnah says, Nasna, if she gave him while he was still alive, she doesn't fall to Yibim. If she doesn't give it, So then the get didn't take effect. So kukul yibim, she falls to yibim because she doesn't have the get. She didn't keep the condition. Rabbi Shimon says in the sense even after he dies, he can give it to his yorshim, and then retroactively the get will take effect, and she will not fall to yibim, to her brother, to his brother, or to his father, or to one of his relatives. They're only machlokes between Rashbag and the Tanakama El Marsov Yarshay and Parsov Efil Yarshay. Everybody, the opinion that they're arguing is when he said, "Give me 200 zuz," did he mean give it to my yorshim as well, if in case I'm not here to receive it, or did he mean to only give it to me? And the Tanakama says he means only to me, and Rabbi Shimon says no, he's flexible, that if giving it to the yorshim, that is considered to be keeping the condition. The kuliyama meaning everybody agrees it was a condition. Once the condition is met, the get is chal from when you gave it. You have to Rabbi Yehuda. This will be a refutation against Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, the Amoira said, Hamani Rabbi. That goes according to Rabbi. The Amar Afuna, Amar Rabbi said, Kol ha'oima almanas, ka'oima ma'achshadami. Once you say a condition, it's as if you say the word almanas, it's as if you said that I want it to take effect from right now. Pligi Rabbanan and Rebbe and the Rabbanan do argue on that. And I hold like the Rabbanan. So Rabbi Yehuda says that is that ma'achshav. If you say Amanas is ma'achshav, that's the that's the outcast opinion. I hold like the majority opinion, like the Rabbanan, that unless once the condition is met, only then that's when the get or the Kiddushin takes effect. Gufa, we learned in the Brayso, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rabbi, Kol ha'oima amanas, koima ma'achshav dam. If you say amanas, it's as if you said may achshav. It's as if you want to take effect right now. On Rabbi Zeira, Rabbi Zeira, when I was in Babel, they used to say, Hold on, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi, Kol ha'oima amanas, kol ma'achshav dam. When you say amanas, it's as if you said, I wanted to start right now. Pligi Rabbanan aleh. In Babel, they said that Rabbanan would argue against Rebbe. But Kasalki Hasamar went into Eretz Yisrael. I learned in yeshivas there. Ashkeche Rav Yasi. I found Rav Yasi. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Hakoil Moedim. Nobody argues on this point. When you make a condition, you want it to start from right now. The only argument that you have, you hear an argument, Rabbanan and Rebbe, is a totally different case. By the case, if a person says, he didn't say the word Almanas, he said Mahayoim, and he said Achamisa, today, and I wanted to come after I die. Like we learned in the Brayso. Get vein get. The Chacham says we don't know if it's a condition or it's a retraction. Rebbe says kizeh get. Rebbe says this is considered a get because it's a for sure condition. What he's saying is that after I die, retroactively the get should take place from today. But that's only if he didn't say almanas. But if he said almanas, so then everybody would agree that the get would start right from the moment he gave the get. According to Yehuda, they're still arguing by Manas. And Rabbanan says, no, unless once the condition's met, only then it takes effect. Let them argue by Manas and let them say that the Rabbanan hold that even by Manas it doesn't take effect till much later. And says the Gemara, to teach you the power of Rebbe, that even when he did not say Hamanas, we only understand that he means a Tanai, and the get should start from today. Says the Gemara, and the Rabbanan don't agree with that. When you say a conflicting term, the Niflegu Ba'almanas, let them argue Ba'almanas, says the Gemara, to teach you the power of the Rabbanan, that even when you say Almanas, the Rabbanan say it's not a get until the condition is met. So let them argue by Almanas. And says the Gemara, Rebbe is the more lenient one, the power that gives permission. In other words, Rebbe says definitively, even on the doubtful case of Mayoim Lachamisa, when you can go either way. Maybe he meant Almanas, maybe he meant the retraction. And so therefore, Rebbe says definitively that that's a condition, and that is the reason why they had their argument Bahayom Lachamisa. But true to Rabbi Yehuda's form, Rabbi Yehuda would say that when he does say Almanas, it's according to Rabbanan, it doesn't mean it should start right now. Only Rebbe says it starts right now, or according to Rabbanan, and actually, even when he says Almanas, he means that it should start once the condition is met. And so the Mishnah said that if he gave it within the Mishnah said like this, he says, so the Gemara says, of course, if he kept this condition, she's mukudeshes. If he didn't, she's not mukudeshes. Pshita, isn't the Mishnah's case obvious? And if it's a Gemara, the same lav to know. He didn't mean to make a condition. He said, I want you to be mekudeshes to me. I'm going to make it conditional, but I don't really mean it. I really mean you should be mekudesh to me just for the penny that I gave you, the fruit that I gave you. The reason why I said Amanas that I'm going to give you 200 zuz, I just want to make myself diligent to follow through on something. But really, it's not that the kedushin is conditional. Kamash Mullah, no. Once you say a statement, Amanas, you're automatically not going to interpret it any other way, but it's a condition, and that has to be met in order for the kedushin to be valid. Let's say he made the condition Amanashi Yeshli Messiah Zuz. So the Mishnah says if he has, she's mekudeshes. If he doesn't have, she's not mekudeshes. Says the Gemara, even if you don't know for sure he has, maybe he does have. Maybe he has a Swiss bank account that nobody knows about that she's 200 mezuzah. How can you definitively say she's not mekudeshes if you don't know for certain that he has 200 zuz? That was the condition. In a brisa that says in this particular case, when a person said Amanas Sheyeshli Messiah Zuz, that even if you don't know he has Messiah Zuz, she's always mekudeshes because perhaps he has in a bank account somewhere that nobody knows about, and he really does have Messiah Zuz. Answers the Gemara, Kasha, it's not difficult. Our Mishnah is just telling you she's not mekudeshes for certain to this guy, but she is mekudeshes. Not so certain, besophic. So the Mishnah doesn't discuss that. But the Brisa is going all the way, and it's more elaborate and explanatory. And the Kedusha Suffolk, the Brisa says that even if you don't see he has 200 zuz, if he says he has it, and you don't know, you don't see his bank account that he does have it, she will always remain in Kedusha Suffolk, a doubtful, a Suffolk Kedusha. One more point. He said, on condition, I will show you 200 zuz. And he has to show him. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, the condition was met that he's showing him his 200 zuz, not that 200 zuz in the window of some by the treasury. No, he means he's saying her, I'm going to show you that I have 200 zuz, maybe in cash in my vault. If he showed her in the bank and by the banker that he has 200 zuz, she's not mukudeshes. So much as pshita. Of course, he's not mukudeshes. It's not his money. Maybe he's trying to tell her, look, that money is investors' money on this shulchan. Let's say he's a banker, and it's not his money, but he's trying to say to her that I own part of the profits over here, so I'm working with other people's money, and potentially I can make 200 zuz. That's not enough. She's not mekudeshes. The money has to be made. It has to be in his name, and he has to show her that he has this money. Unless he does show her that, then he's mekudeshes. If not, she is not mekudeshes. So ends Masech Kiddushin Daf Samach.